All right, let's talk about something that's basically running your life, whether you realize it or not. Dopamine. Now, before you think this is about to turn into a high school biology lecture, don't worry. We're not diving into complicated brain diagrams or chemistry formulas today. This is about why your phone is so hard to put down, why one more scroll turns into an hour, why motivation feels amazing one day and completely gone the next. Dopamine is often called the feel-good chemical, but that's actually a bit misleading. It's less about pleasure and more about drive, craving, and reward. And right now, we're living in a world that's basically engineered to hijack it. So today, we're going to break this down into simple terms, what dopamine is, how it works, and why so many people are starting to feel their attention, motivation, and even happiness are a bit off. No jargon, no overwhelm, just the basics you need to understand what's going on in your brain and what you can actually do about it.
Welcome to Too Many Cooks in the Kitchen, mother-daughter duo, bringing real-life experience and real food conversations into one kitchen. I am super excited to talk about this subject today. Dopamine may be a good thing, but it can also be very bad.
Well, too much of anything is never good.
Yeah, that's totally true. Yep. So what is dopamine? Really, like it's feel-good, quote-unquote-ish feel-good chemical. So
Yeah.
why do we care?
I want to get an exact definition, so I'm going to just go to the Google box because it's going to give me a perfect answer.
The goog. Give it a goog.
The Goog. Okay. Dopamine is a crucial neurotransmitter. Okay, I guess there is a little bit of chemistry jargon. Is a crucial neurotransmitter and hormone produced in the brain that acts as a chemical messenger between nerve cells. Often labeled the pleasure molecule, it is central to the brain's reward system, regulating motivation, pleasure, mood, memory, attention, and motor control. So basically, dopamine is driving much of what we do without us even realizing it.
Interesting. I was listening to a podcast the other day. Cannot remember the professor or doctor that was on, but she does research on the gut microbiome. And she also said that now they know that dopamine is not just produced in the brain, but it is also produced in the gut. Because as you have said, the gut is like the original brain, and they're learning more and more that the gut actually has a huge influence on our behavior. It isn't just our brain.
Well, certain foods can, like sugar produces, the craving for sugar produces a ton of dopamine, so a lot of foods can trigger a dopamine reaction in the body.
If you think about it, for survival, that's probably an important thing. Back, when we were
Yeah.
hunting and gathering and we found something sweet, ooh, high calorie, hey, that means I have energy to go run away from the saber-toothed tiger or whatever. So it evolutionarily makes sense that we would have something that would reward us for eating something that would be helping us survive. But now we don't have to run away from the saber-toothed tiger anymore. So we probably need to get a handle on what it does. Right?
Yeah.
So like how does it work? So yes, it's there, the body produces it. But is there like a flow of you do this and then this happens?
So dopamine is in the brain, it's like a loop. So you have a cue, an action, and then a reward. So you see something you want it, you go after it, and then you get a reward when you get the thing that you want. But here's the thing, you actually get a bigger spike in dopamine before you receive the reward. Anticipation is dopamine doing its thing in your brain, which explains why scrolling feels so good and why you can't stop, because you're not just satisfied viewing the thing, you gotta see what's next, which kind of brings us more into today's terms of what dopamine is doing to us.
Yeah, stopping the scroll is really hard, and I even have on my Instagram a 15-minute thing, and it just, like, it shuts it off, which I
Mm.
suggest everyone do, although it is a bit annoying when it does it mid me trying to do a post because then it resets it back to nothing, but, the thing would be I shouldn't scroll, I should put the post first and not scroll first and foremost, so that would be a thing that would help. But I think it's just like you have some cookies, right? Even if you haven't even eaten a cookie, but you know you have cookies in the house and you're just kind of like craving a little bit. It's like all of a sudden, all you can focus on is the damn cookie. Your brain wants it. You're like anticipating, you start salivating. And actually, they have done research. It's like Pavlov's dog, right? I mean, it's been a long, long time since they've known about kind of this whole thing of anticipation. In the fact that when we think about a thing, we actually start to salivate and it already starts to produce stuff in the gut, getting ready for receiving the food, even if we never eat it.
But then when you eat that
It's like our
cookie,
body is like,
it's great, but you want another one pretty automatically
yeah,
after. That's when things get
yeah.
complicated.
Or like a potato chip, you can't eat just one. I mean, shouldn't Lay's stake their whole advertising campaign on that one.
Yeah, they know what they were doing. I mean, marketers, advertising people,
Yeah, yeah.
they really know how to
Marketing,
tap
marketers.
into the dopamine loop that the brain has. I mean, it is really ingenious, some of the tactics that they use to get people to buy and consume.
Yeah. And so it's like right now we are in a crisis state, right? Yeah. That
Mhm,
so many of us don't understand that we're doing things. I wouldn't necessarily, I mean, it's like autopilot, but it's really dopamine is in the driving seat.
mhm. But I
And
mean, it's the way it's just so ubiquitous. I mean, dopamine overconsumption it has become the norm now, and you're seen as kind of odd or different if you are not really participating in these like normal things. Like if you don't have social media, you're seen as kind of like a loner or something, like you're essentially not shamed out of society, but you're definitely, like you're not in society, I guess, if you're like not on social media or if you don't drink, then you can be seen as kind of a weirdo or, if I don't know, it's really odd that, a lot of these things are kind of maladaptive, but if you choose to not do them, you're seen as odd
the
or
oddball, like the one
yeah.
off because you're not part of the hive mind.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think
but
that's really
also
what it
it's
is.
healthier to not participate, so it's like yeah, I mean,
Correct. Yes.
yeah.
It's like our social community has shifted to being online instead
Mhm,
of being in person, and if you think about hundreds of years ago, in general, more of an agrarian society where people were out working and in the fields and stuff had to in order to have the food they needed to eat, and the clothes on their back literally had to make just about everything or make it and use it as a means to sell and then have enough money to buy the things you didn't make.
mhm.
And now because we can just go online and go to, some big
Order whatever you want
store
from
or
Amazon.
Amazon, right? You don't you don't need to, and so now everything is
Mm-mm,
is disconnected. It's like we're no longer doing things that are of a communal nature. Like, I
mhm,
think that even though we're online, we're losing the actual community because if you think about the fact that our communication is only partly like what we say and our facial expressions, you
mhm,
actually need to see the whole body and have the context of what that is. And if you're not in person, you're missing a lot of cues.
mhm. Yeah.
And so, like, you're not really making as much of a connection as if you were within a community space in person out for a walk, learning how to be around people. I think we're
Mhm.
losing that, and
But
it's
we're
kinda scary.
definitely losing that. I mean, community used to mean survival. Like, if you weren't a part of the community, then you were gonna die, you know? Like, it was very difficult to survive just on your own. But now, I mean, we're losing community, but in a different sense. I mean, we're all so, like, hyper connected all the time through our phones, but we're not actually making meaningful connections or having meaningful community with people. Like, the phone is a good tool for connecting people, but, like, only to a certain extent, you know? Like, you make the plan, you meet up with the people in person, and then you, like, forget about your phone. But now it's like you make a plan to go out with somebody and do something somewhere, and, like, you go to dinner or whatever, and, you're just, like, sitting on your phones the whole time, or, like, you may not be on your phone the whole time, but it's, like, in the back of your mind, like, the whole time, you're like,
Look at me, I'm
yeah,
important."
and, like, the
Yeah, I
second
mean,
your dinner partner goes to the
yeah.
bathroom, you're like, "Let me check my phone." Like, there's
Yeah, that's
no
true, and I think
moment of downtime where you're just like, "Okay." Well, I mean, not always, I mean, but it's something that you have to be really conscious about. Like, if I don't wanna check my phone, it I have to physically remind myself, like, "You don't need to check your phone, like, just leave it in your bag," or whatever. Even if it's just there, it's sending a signal, like, "Don't forget about me." I mean, not, like, physically sending a signal, but, like, your brain is
well,
like
it is it's meant to continually, and the dopamine is kind of what's linked to it, so we have to almost override and maybe learn to find pleasure in noticing the environment, looking
Mhm,
around, doing some guilty pleasure people watching,
mhm,
observing the environment, and being in your own headspace, I think, is a
mhm.
thing that's really hard for a lot of people to do. Just
Yeah,
being mindful and in the moment. I think the phone has done a lot to contribute to people not being in a mindful headspace and in the
mhm,
moment, because it's like entertaining you all the time, which is
mhm,
extremely unhealthy for our brains. We do need to unplug and be able to just be with our thoughts and be in the moment. And I think that is something that would be important for us as a society to begin to focus on for sure.
I think that's why a lot of young people feel so lost or just disconnected from themselves and from life and, like, other people in general is because they grew up with social media, a cell phone, like, there was always something to entertain you, something to, like, pull your attention, and when you don't have that thing, you're left with your own thoughts, and, like, it's really sad that just, like, sitting with your own thoughts has become kind of scary or, like, like, something that a lot of people feel very uncomfortable doing, like, to have something that's constantly pulling your attention so that you don't have to be alone with your own thoughts. I find it really sad. Um,
Yeah, I think we haven't learned to process our own emotions and our own thoughts to
but
not
you're
let them
like, the
override.
really sad thing is that if you don't consciously make an effort to do that, like, you're never going to understand who you are as a person and, like, what drives you, and, self-reflection is one of the most important practices, and now it actually, like, if you don't physically take the time to make that a practice in your life, it's just something that's going to pass you by because everything is so overstimulating all the time. Whereas in the past, like, that was really the only option. I mean, bef-
Yeah, you would read a book, you would socialize
yeah,
with other people, but before the
exactly.
smartphone,
I mean,
you
obviously, at some point, like, there was just the radio, like, we didn't have TV yet, and, like, that is a distraction, but it's also, like, it's not taking it's only one sense that it's taking away just your hearing. So, like, you're still able to process other things.
Well, and it was also done at night. People sat
Yeah.
around
And
after
it was a
dinner and listened
community
to a
thing.
radio program. Yes,
Exactly. And it
correct.
was
It was like
done.
a way to be together.
Yeah. Whereas now, I mean, yes, like people do still do that with television where, you'll watch TV with someone at the end of the night or something like your partner, or maybe like a movie night with friends or something like that. And like you're still together in a community, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it's when there's this constant thing pulling your attention, and it's maybe not just one thing,
I
but,
won I wonder
you
if
know,
that's why so many people say that they like, I hear people all the time when I'm talking to them about, trying to cook at home, try to get away from the processed foods, and people are like, "Oh, I don't cook. Oh, I don't like cooking." And I'm wondering if that's because like you have to put your phone down. You have to
mm,
actually actively use your hands, be away from that, and it's perhaps less about the skill of actually chopping things and more about the skill of spending time in the moment and being mindful about
mm,
what you're doing and changing the narrative around food, that you are doing something very good for your body and you're nourishing, and to be mindful in the moment and you're creating something that can be good. But because there's like this mental thought of, oh, that's not going to be rewarding because I'm
mm.
not getting hit with all of those instant anticipation things. Although,
Yeah.
if it starts to smell good, bake a batch of cookies and it could be you could get into the motivation of that. But cooking yourself a roasted vegetable dish, maybe not so much. But I think it's getting individuals to understand that it isn't a hard thing. It's that you just have to take the time to be away from your phone and be in a moment learning something new.
Mhm.
And perhaps that's the part where people are throwing in an excuse to stop themselves from doing something that's super beneficial for them. And it
Mm.
takes like a life altering event of you have diabetes or you have high cholesterol that perhaps then shifts someone to finally realize that they have to change something,
Yeah. I
but they're
do
not
think
doing it just before.
I do think that that's part of the puzzle, but I think another part of the puzzle is that these overprocessed foods are much because of how they're formulated and created. I
Yeah.
think that the dopamine reward for them is maybe stronger to a degree because of the, like, high sugar and high fat content with a lot of these foods. The craving for it is so much more powerful until
That's a good point. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
train your body to not crave those foods anymore, Like, I mean, I've spent years recreating a diet that consists of whole healthy foods. And so now I no longer crave candy or chips or stuff like that. That doesn't mean that I don't sometimes crave sweets or salty foods, but it's not like it's not tied to a specific thing like a package of Oreos or a bag of chips. So
So
it's
if
not
it's
that it.
you can switch it and make it so that it's tied to feeling healthy, and, "Wow, I eat this thing, I feel good,"
Mhm.
and reset that, perhaps you
And
can
it's not.
slowly make it and change the
Exactly,
reward, um, and right. You can learn to anticipate something else, and
exactly.
eventually your brain is going to change that.
Mhm.
What are some signs that your dopamine system might be out of balance?
Difficulty focusing is a big one. Like, you try to start a task and you sit down to write an important email, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, my phone is calling me Instagram. Like, I just have to scroll on Instagram right now. So you pick up your phone and you scroll on Instagram, and before you know it, a half hour has gone by and you still haven't written your email. Or
Yeah.
procrastination is another big one, which, I mean, kind of goes in the same vein as difficulty focusing. Procrastination, when you feel overwhelmed by something, you're much more likely to reach for something that feels really easy and not calming, but it's you're getting some kind of response from it that's positive in the moment. Whereas procrastination is a delayed reward. If you're procrastinating the thing that you know you need to do, you're delaying a future reward that may not be quite as powerful as the thing that you're choosing in the present, or at least think is as powerful as the thing you're choosing in the present. Also,
Yeah.
losing interest in slower, more meaningful activities like reading books or going for a walk in nature or just sitting with your thoughts. And also a
Yeah, I think
constant.
sometimes our brains I think sometimes our mindset or whatever, like you could think, well, I want to go for a hike. We as humans, our brains are actually love to focus on the negative. It's just part of the way we're wired.
Yes, we have a
And
negativity
so you
bias.
think about, oh, a hike, and you're like, oh, it's going to be hard. It's going to be like I'm slogging up that hill, sweaty, and you can talk yourself out of things really easily because you can easily focus on that negative thing. And perhaps this is kind of one of those where if you let yourself talk yourself out of doing something that ultimately is good for you, you are likely letting the dopamine system or being out of balance win. And I would say, like, one easy way to think of it is if it is out of balance for you as a listener, and you're like, at the end of the day, you look back, let's say you have a weekend. It's not a work day, you get the day off, and you look back at the end of the day and you really haven't accomplished a whole lot unless the thing you want to do is completely like relax and check out and find a day of just leisure. But most of us have things we want to accomplish, or at least you can look back and say, oh, well, that was an enjoyable weekend because I did such and such. I went for a walk, I met with friends, whatever it is for you. But if you look back on that day and you really didn't do anything except doom scroll and binge watch TV, and you have really a whole lot of nothing else to show for it, I would think that your dopamine system is probably out of balance.
Especially when you
Because
do
I think
have
we need to do
tasks.
things.
Yeah, and especially when you do have tasks that you need to accomplish and you're choosing to do something else that is counterproductive to getting those tasks done, doom scrolling or binge watching. And often in the moment, it doesn't really even seem like a choice. I mean, there is obviously a choice that is made, but sometimes the craving is so powerful for those things that it doesn't seem like a choice. You're just giving your body what it's telling you it wants while neglecting all these other things that you physically need to do, like doing your taxes.
Yeah, like exercise and um work, or maybe you have something you've always wanted to do. Like I know a lot of people, well, I want to write a book, or oh, I would love to, I don't know, whatever it is. I want to learn how to quilt, or I want to get healthy. Like I want to get fit, right? But it takes changing the way you do things in your
Mhm,
everyday life. And I mean, yeah, a lot of people, and I had been one of those that I wanted to write a book, didn't know where to start. Finally, I just finally did start. And then it does take that focus because I was working a full-time job, still am. And it was, okay, every day I'm going to wake up and I'm going to spend an hour writing. And if I got blocked where I didn't know what to write about, I would literally write about why I was having a difficult time writing. Because if you continue to work on it and you continue to focus on that, all of a sudden it's like your brain starts to, after the first 10 minutes, get out of that, oh my God, this is a new habit and I don't really want to be here time, and
mhm,
thinking about how many ways you could not be sitting doing the thing that you really need to be doing.
mhm,
And you're doing it because you want to reach a goal. I often find that my brain wants to talk me out of exercising in the morning. It's like I do reps to 15 and I'm at 12 and my brain is going, oh, can't you quit now? And it takes an override. It really takes thinking about, nope, I'm going to make it to 15. Damn it. But I think sometimes our brain is our worst enemy.
But then
So how can
after
we
you
fix this?
do, but hold on, after you do make it to 15, you
Okay.
feel great afterwards. And this is also addressing your question of how can we fix this? So one
Yes.
of the
Yeah.
most important things about dopamine is the pleasure pain balance. So, in today's society, we're overwhelmed with dopamine and pleasure, and often we're not hitting the pain side of this very important balance. And that's why, like, when you start exercising, it can feel so good because you're 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 causing your body to feel pain, but then in turn, afterwards, you feel even more pleasure, endorphins and whatnot. Working like uncomfortable things into your daily habits and pain. I'm not saying like to, start like physically whipping yourself or anything like that, but things that cause tension in the mind or, fatigue the muscles or just things that you don't even necessarily want to do, a mental pain, like doing those things are going to help rewire your brain and bring this scale back into balance.
And actually, I wrote about that in my book, Between Farm and Fork. There was a whole chapter on kind of the message being the mundaneness of things being actually really good for you and
Mhm.
actually helping in the creative mind. So by allowing ourselves to experience boredom and experience just time to contemplate, we actually help the left side of the brain to be, or right side of the brain. Oh, I don't remember what's left side, right side. I always figured it's like the opposite of, if you're right-handed, your left brain. No, it would be the right brain. The right brain for the kind of more creative mind. And that is where the mindfulness and being in the moment, that actually is in that whole right brain center. That highly creative people utilize more of that. And we as a society have actually disincentivized, even as in school. It's all about test scores and
Mhm.
learning facts. That's all left brain stuff.
Mhm.
And we have almost stopped or halted the development of, and almost seen as like not a good thing for school age children to just doodle, or they see that as, well, you're not paying attention. But
Mhm.
in actuality, it's good for people to do that.
Yes.
So do some more doodling,
That's
or
everyone's homework.
that's right, do a doodle
Do a doodle
and
and
sit
make
and just
this
be bored.
week's recipes. Yeah, and sit with your thoughts.
Exactly, because it'll be a very good idea to do that. All right. So,
Can we pause for a
what
second? I
is
have
one simple thing?
to use the
What's
ladies'
that?
room. I gotta use the ladies' room.
Okay, go ahead.
Be
Good
right back.
idea.
Potty break.
Okay.
Okay.
Whitey. So, what is one simple thing someone can do today to help balance out their dopamine levels?
I think the most impactful and simplest thing one could do is it's kind of two things, to take some time away from your phone, like turn it off for an hour if that's possible, or like put it on silent for an hour. If you're a parent and you have to keep your phone on, just in case of emergencies and things like that, then okay, but just like turn the volume up and like put it in another room so you're not distracted by it. And then just sit there. Just like take 10 minutes and just sit with your thoughts. Like don't do anything. Don't even read a book. Don't watch television. Like you can just look outside at the trees, or if you have some house plants, just like make some awkward eye contact with your houseplants. I mean, they will love that because houseplants pick up on
I don't know where the eyes
their
are on the
owners.
plants, but if you can
They're
find them, that would be
everywhere.
really cool.
Their eyes are everywhere, putting out electromagnetic field so like they can see you from all over the
But yeah,
planet. But
they
anyways,
can. They
so
can sense.
Yeah, exactly. And they
Well, I've
actually,
been working on
uh
this positive intelligence thing, and so this one of the things that is like they call it a PQ rep, but it's really to help develop your right brain, and
mhm,
you can do it for even just increments of 10 seconds at a time where you sit and you are it's really just mindfulness exercises where you feel your feet on the floor. You feel the weight of your body in the chair. You take your fingertips and you rub them against each other and feel the ridges in the hands. You can, so that's like on the feeling, but you can use all your senses when you're eating. Noticing the food, notice the taste of the food, notice the way it sounds when you're eating it, notice the way it feels in your mouth. You can do it with hearing. When you're listen for the thing that's furthest away from you, listen for the thing that's closest to you. Even your breathing, and if you're quiet enough and you're in a quiet space, you could actually hear your own heartbeat. Then there's sight where you look at something so intently, you focus on it and you look at the different shades and you look at all the different colors and the textures of that thing. And if you could sit for 10 minutes and kind of scroll through all of the different things in your mind of different senses, and you're just go from one sense to another sense and try to hit all of your senses while you're sitting there. Of course, your sense of taste wouldn't unless you were eating something, or even drinking your coffee first thing in the morning or a tea, is just notice the warmth of it or the coldness of it, the taste of it. How does it feel when it slides down your throat? Like all of those things, if you're focusing on that, that brings you in the moment. That's a mindfulness exercise without just sitting there going hum, where I have a tough time with that kind of thing, and just like sitting on a pillow with my legs crossed doing a mindfulness is more difficult for me. But if I begin to just focus on all of the different
I do
senses.
think though that sometimes it's mindfulness is great. I'm not saying mindfulness is not. I love mindfulness, but I do think that it is beneficial to just even sit and not try to like, because in essence, like, yes, these are positive things to like put your mind to work on, but I do think that it is good just to also not even try to make your mind do something, just to allow it to be, you know? Like just allow whatever thoughts come into the moment, just to like let your thoughts come in and then let them go. You know, I do think that this is a great practice and one that people should incorporate into their daily lives, but I do also think that just allowing yourself to think unburdened by like doing, I think is a really great practice also.
Although when you think about when you do mindfulness, what do they have you do? You focus on your breathing. So in actuality, it's like you focus on your breathing to bring yourself into the moment, and then the
Mhm.
thoughts come and go, and you're
Mhm.
supposed to allow the thoughts to come and go and not focus on a single thought.
Yeah.
And so by you doing these different things, it actually continues to keep you in the moment,
Mhm.
because so many people aren't used to being in their in the moment or in their own
Yeah.
head, that this kind of helps to quiet the
But yes, I get that, but also observing the world around you, I think is a good practice also, you know, like even if you're just sitting at home in your space, just like, you know, taking a look around without judgment, without like needing to be like, "Oh my gosh, I have to clean that thing," or "Oh, I got to water my plants," or whatever. Being able to sit there and like, you know, be like, "Wow, like, I really like my space." I mean, that's a judgment also, but just, like, being like, "Okay, like, look at my wall art," or something like that, or just, like, you know, I mean, you could just stare at the wall for 10 minutes and be like, "Wow, like, I'm so glad that, like, there's 4 walls around me and a roof over my head," and, you know, just, like, there's multiple ways to be present for, you know, like, having to make your mind do something, you know? I don't know.
Yes, exactly, and that's the whole point, and I think we're basically kind of saying the same thing. It's just
Yeah,
depending on
with different
how you
tools.
are looking at it.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, it's a different tool of noticing without judgment,
Mhm.
just
One's
sitting
internal,
and
one's
observing.
external, and I think that
Right.
both are important practices, and you don't have to like take 10 minutes to do both of them. You could do one day and then one the next day or something, like, or 5 minutes of one, 5 minutes of the other.
And I think it's gonna take just like you start small,
Yeah.
do it for a
Yeah,
minute and then
exactly.
work up to 10 minutes. Taking a nature walk is a really easy way to begin to be more in the moment.
But
Is It's
unplugged,
really hard to
like.
walk on a nature trail with looking at your phone. It would end
Mhm.
up probably pretty badly,
But
like running into
yes,
a tree.
but nowadays it's very easy just to like put in your AirPods and pop on a podcast and listen to that while you're walking. So you're technically, like, yeah, you're in the moment you're walking, but your brain is also being distracted by the podcast that you're listening to. So, creating like spaces where you don't have your phone as a distraction if
No
you wanna go.
stimulation coming in
Yeah,
from outside,
beyond.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Beyond just what's going on in the moment, so, like, cultivating a practice of just not having your phone while you're doing things, I think is one of the biggest habit changes that can help rewire this dopamine pathway to be less dopamine craving and more just like satisfied with what is.
Yeah, I would say that's a perfect note to end it on. Is that's really what it's all about. Is that it's not about not having dopamine because our body produces it naturally,
Mhm.
but it is allowing it to be in balance with all of the other neurotransmitters in our that are produced in our body to be more in balance with the natural order of things and not be something that's taking over and leading to the degradation of the self and leading to likely more anxiety, more depression.
Mhm.
I think it's all linked together.
Mhm.
So you read the book
I did. I read this book
Dopamine Nation.
by Dr. Anna Lemke, and I heard about this book
Nice.
on podcast actually. I believe it was The Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett. He interviewed Dr. Anna Lemke, and it's a great podcast. If you're very interested in this topic and want to dive deeper, I would recommend listening to that podcast or buying this book because it's a very good read. And Dr. Anna, she gives all kinds of, she's a psychologist or therapist. I don't know exactly what the difference is. Psychologist and clinical, a clinical psychologist.
Citrus. One can
Psych- yeah,
Yeah,
that.
so a psychiatrist, I believe, is the one who can prescribe things. Psychologists
Okay.
are generally therapists, but I could be
Okay, yeah.
completely wrong on that. And
Clinical
by all
psych
means, those listeners who want to correct us, please.
please. But anyway, she's a clinician, so she does, treat pa and her focus for most of her career has been on helping patients with addiction, and throughout her career, she was able to connect the dots between a lot of her patients and see that really, even though they had all kinds of different addictions, whether it be phone addictions or marijuana or prescription painkillers or sex addictions, like the underlying root cause of all of these things was dopamine. And so she's kind of compiled all these examples into a book and made the material really digestible and gives you lots of insight into the human mind and also how you can rewire your brain to be less dopamine focused. And yeah, I highly recommend it. So go check it out. We'll have a link for you
And
in the show notes to order it on Amazon, which is where I got it.
nope, it won't be order on Amazon. It'll be order on the
Uh,
books.org link.
okay, just
Not that
kidding.
we're hating on
Books.org.
Amazon. It's just that
But we
the
are.
bookshop.org is a more philanthropic way to buy
Ah,
your books
yeah,
benefiting.
Jeff Bezos has enough money anyways,
Yeah, that's true. Yep. He could
and
share the
he's
wealth as many of
contributing
them could.
to our overconsumption of dopamine by us be able to get things like almost instantly, just at the click of like 2 buttons,
Yeah, the
essentially.
instantaneous gratification thing. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that I don't use Amazon for certain
So
things when you
actually,
need it
don't
in a fairly
order
quick
the
order.
book. Go to the store and buy it, or go to the books.org. Like
Get up
that's good
and
too.
or you wanna recycle and help do something for the environment,
Yeah.
thrifts books is a good place
Mm.
too, or
Or the
head over to your
library.
library. Yep, that's another place to get it. Maybe the real takeaway here, the problem isn't that your brain is broken, it's that it's working exactly as designed in a world that's a little out of balance. So the goal isn't to fight your brain, it's to understand it well enough to work with it, as we have learned today. Because once you do, you stop being pulled around by every bing, ding, and notification, every craving and every impulse, and you start choosing what actually gets your attention or should get your attention. And honestly, that might be one of the most valuable skills you can build right now. Okay, we have a recipe battle this week. What's the
And
food item?
it is, drumroll please, red cabbage.
All right, I
And
love
I
it.
would say
Making
that
some red cabbage.
red cabbage is definitely an ingredient that not everybody will love, but I think the viewers will find that these red cabbage recipes are like no other. And so if you don't like red cabbage, you should try these because they'll give you a new lease on life when it comes to red cabbage.
Exactly, because your recipe balsamic braised red cabbage and ricotta toast sounds yum yum, and certainly a really good way to enjoy it. We are here to ensure that red cabbage gets out of the coleslaw category and onto a different category. So
Exactly.
we will see you in the kitchen.
See you there.
So now we're going to switch gears a little bit because we want to get back into the kitchen.
We got a
So we have a
food fight.
recipe challenge.
We
The food
do.
item of the week. Yeah, we have a food fight. Welcome to the kitchen. So this week's challenge is red cabbage, and Lauren sent me a recipe with a red cabbage that is braised and ricotta toast. And so very simple recipe to make. Has apples and cabbage, red cabbage in it, which is an absolute favorite dish of mine. But this takes it to a different level, and that you actually kind of turn it into what's a little bit like a appetizer. And Stefan just ate some, and he actually said that he could turn into a vegetarian with that particular thing. So I haven't tried it yet. Going to give it a bite right now. We start by cutting up the cabbage and all the other ingredients. And then after you get all of that done, you're going to heat your pan and sweat your onions or leeks, whichever you prefer to use. After that is done, add in the cabbage and the remaining ingredients, and I'll let that simmer a little bit and cook down. After you've done all of that, and of course you can do some other things while this is cooking, go ahead and add the aromatics in there as well. Put a lid on that and let it go and steep for a while. It takes about 35-45 minutes to cook. You really want to make sure that you have a nice tight fitting lid on there. Give that a stir and let that all cook together. This can be done the day ahead and let it cool down in the fridge. To make the spread, the ricotta spread for the toast, and start by grating some lemon peel. Then go ahead and get the herbs in there and all the remaining ingredients. I'm using a small little processor that goes with kind of my immersion blender. You could use a blender as well, or a larger food processor would also work. So once you add all of the ingredients in there, go ahead and whir it all about and get it all mixed together. I did Actually find that this was a pretty thick, because I used a very nice thick ricotta cheese, which took a little bit more work to get it to come together. And I ended up actually adding a little bit of lemon juice in there, just to one, pop the flavor of lemon, brighten it up, but also to smooth that out a little bit and allow it to whir together. But once that's all whirred together, you are then ready to make your dish. So you start with toasted sourdough bread, then add in a little dollop of the ricotta cheese mixture, spread that on there, top that with that cooked cabbage, and then finally going to drizzle it with a little bit of aceto balsamic vinegar. Don't skimp on this step. Really get the good balsamic vinegar with a nice robust flavor. The fresh lemon in the ricotta with the thyme, really good, actually brightens the flavor. So I made the cabbage yesterday and actually cooled it in the fridge. And so I actually heated it back up just ever so slightly to make this. And I actually like it a little bit more room temperature. I think this would be a perfect appetizer and actually a great kind of hot summer day kind of appetizer as well. So I hope you guys give this one a try. Absolutely great job, Lauren. This is a simple, easy dish. Throw it together for a lunch or even as a side, or as Stefan said, I could make a whole meal, and I'm sure he's coming back for seconds after he walks the dog. I can't wait to see how my recipe turns out.
Welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be making my mom's black bean veggie burgers, so let's get started. The biggest area where what I did differed from my mom's recipe was, first things first, I chose to blend my black beans in my Vitamix as an additional binder for the burgers before I did anything else. So I set the black beans aside and then I got started chopping the rest of my ingredients, the onion, cabbage, shredding the sweet potato. I also chose to use a Japanese sweet potato instead of a normal sweet potato because they have a bit higher starch content, and I was hoping that the starches would also help bind the burger together. Plus, I just really like the flavor of the Japanese sweet potato. So once I had all my ingredients chopped, I proceeded to sweat them in a pan until they wilted down for about 2 to 3 minutes. Then I added a quarter cup of water and covered them for an additional 5 minutes just to let everything really cook down well. And once that was done, I transferred everything to a bowl, and then I added the rest of my binder ingredients minus egg and black beans. So I mixed in mustard, breadcrumbs, oats, and other seasonings and let it sit for about 10 minutes before adding the egg and black bean, just so the egg wouldn't cook when it was added to the hot mixture. After I mixed in those last two ingredients, the egg and the black bean, I mixed everything together very well, covered it, poked a couple holes in the saran wrap, and then placed it in the fridge overnight. I was hopeful that this would help everything bind together really well and meld all the flavors together. And when I took it out of the fridge in the morning, I was super happy because it was staying together very well, which for me was a necessity because I do not have the option to just stick them in the oven. So I ended up cooking them in my cast iron pan, and this worked out very well. And on my second side of cooking, I decided to cover them with a lid just to help them steam themselves. And I think this really helped everything stay together and definitely helped the centers of the burger cook.
So for the last minute or so of cooking, I took the lid off and just allowed everything to get crispy, and then flipped them back over again to crisp on the other side. And then after that, they were ready to be consumed, and I was super excited because they smelled so good. This is a recipe I would highly recommend to any vegetarians or vegans, but even people who are not vegetarian and vegan would enjoy this recipe. I can attest to that because I'm not someone who generally enjoys vegetarian substitutes for anything. You will not catch me eating a Beyond Burger or Beyond anything, really. But this, I was super impressed. The flavors really just punched you in the face. I mean, it was so flavorful and satisfying and does not leave you feeling like you're missing out on anything if you're somebody who eats meat and is eating a vegetable instead. So I really hope that you guys give this recipe a shot because I promise you, you will not be disappointed and you will be getting all your veggies and nutrients in there. So give my mom's red cabbage veggie burger a try, and please give my balsamic braised red cabbage ricotta toast a try, and let us know which one you think won this week's recipe battle, and we'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and happy cooking.
Well, this episode is fully baked. Remember, don't stress over perfection.
Cooking and life can be messy, but that's where the magic happens. Inspiration can come from even the worst of kitchen mess ups.
Yeah, like how the chocolate chip cookie was born.
And the potato chip. Sometimes you gotta get messy to get clean.
Thanks for joining us in the kitchen. Subscribe so you don't miss the next food fight episode.
You can follow us on Instagram at 2 Cooks Podcast. That's the number 2 Cooks Podcast. And share it with all your favorite foodies. This is Too Many Cooks in the Kitchen, where better food and better health always start in the kitchen. Mom, don't forget to go check the stove. I think that might be how dinner got burned.
Thanks for listening. See you next time. Gotta run and check the stove.